Welcome to Hot Shot Learning Curve. Let's get straight into it.
Oh, cool. So you got a level 1 inspection, but you failed it. How many ways can you fail an inspection? There's a lot. Look, when you get time, we'll get together and discuss what you did wrong. Give me a shout. All right. Bye. Be safe. Brakes, number 1. Check for missing, malfunctioning parts, broken wires, broken magnets in your brake plates, scarred up discs on your truck, wheel seals leaking because a contaminated brake will be put out of service. Check that your ABS lights are not on because of a broken ABS wire or starting to go out wheel bearing will trigger an ABS warning. Also, on your breakaway system, be aware the DOT has and will and can inspect it in this manner. They approach the inspection early and have you uncouple your trailer electrical plug so it's operating on the battery at the breakaway alone. Pull the breakaway pin and continue their inspection, and 15 minutes later make you test the breakaway system, which proves to them the battery is good. You can go through cold weather and hot weather and cold weather over the course of a month or two and wipe out a battery. They sell at Walmart's relatively $40. Make sure your battery is always good and solid, and just change it once a year is a good maintenance protocol. Brakes, that's the number 1 thing to be prepared for. They do look at hard. Number 2 on the list, coupling devices. Okay, so let's read what they say. If you have a fifth wheel, obviously you're going to check your plates and your plate mounts, but most of us hot shots run goosenecks. So check for any damage on the weight bearing plate and its supports where it bolts down. The 2 bolts that adjust your height, make sure they're all the way set in and not broke off. Make sure your coupler is in position, plate closed, locked down. I always ran a small padlock on mine just to keep someone from stealing my trailer when I left the area. Make sure your breakaway wire is not hooked to your safety chain. Make sure it's hooked to a secondary location somewhere on your truck, even if you have to mount an I-bolt or D-ring on the bed or fender of your truck. The breakaway should never be part of the safety chain system. Coupling, they check it, they look at it, you don't even realize it. Make sure you can pass. Number 3, fuel and exhaust systems. The state trooper will walk up and listen for exhaust leaks, and he'll also visually inspect for fuel or other contaminants leaking out from under your truck. Make sure that you don't have a fuel leak. As an example, if you have a gravity-fed auxiliary tank, it will overfill and spill out your air vent of your neck if you don't turn it off after filling your truck up. So make sure you pay attention to details. Also, carbon buildup around the seams of the welds where the pipes couple together or clamp together will show an exhaust leak. And if it's in the cab area, will and can put you out of service. So pay attention to your exhaust system and your fuel system. Number 4 is nobody ever talks about the frames. Nobody ever talks about the welds, the cracks. 300,000 miles, 3 years into hauling a gooseneck trailer around, you have corrosion in the weld seams. You have a weak weld that may have cracked. You may have ran over debris that caused the trailer in the dovetail or mega ramp area to produce a crack in the frame. Always inspect your cross members, your joint welds. Take care of any corrosion as it appears. Make sure your frame and its components and the bolts are in good shape. Which leads us straight into number 4, and that's the lighting. The one you're always prepared for. You should carry extra lights, extra tail lights, extra license plate lamps. Because if you do have a situation where you've been put out of service, you can do a quick repair and go right back to continuing with your delivery. It's unfortunate anytime you go out of service, it can affect your safety score. It will affect your safety score. It will affect the price of your insurance when you renew. It can put points on your driver's license, which will trigger a audit from the FMCSA, the DOT. So make sure you take special care to see where the connections are on your lights. Make sure they're not corroded, they're not blinking in on and off as you're going down the road. And you will be prepared to pass that part of your inspection. Inspect all required lamps for proper color, operation, mounting, and visibility. And as a side note, make sure your red tape, the reflective stickers, red and white tape reflective stickers, are not torn, discolored, missing. It needs to be taken care of immediately if it is. Which leads us into number 6, securement of cargo. Make sure you're carrying a safe load. Ensure your cargo is protected from shifting or falling. Verify that it is securely locked down, tied down. Check for proper blocking and bracing. It may be necessary to check your cargo securement for proper number of straps, size, and condition. Check your tie down anchor points for deformation or cracking along your rub rails. Cracked welds on a rub rail where you tied secured your load will put you out of service. Make sure it's not hanging off your trailer. Make sure it's not too tall. Make sure your straps are within 10 foot apart. Make sure you tie down the heavy equipment with 4-point corner tie down. If you have any securement questions, feel free to give me a call or reach out to me in the comment section. I'll be glad to answer your questions on load securement. The list is pretty long. Number 7 is your steering components. That really is heavily inspected on 18-wheelers, but it can and will be at any given time inspected on your hotshot. Make sure you don't have loose tie rod ends, defective tie rod ends. Make sure you're not getting scalping on your tire, which is going to be a sign of wore out shocks and or maybe a broken suspension or failed suspension component. Make sure on your suspension that the steering lash, the slack in your steering wheel, and the larger the steering wheel, the bigger the slack, is in tolerable conditions. The best way is to mark the concrete. Start turning your wheel, and when the wheel starts turning, mark the concrete again. And depending on the vehicle you drive, it should be no more than 1/8 of an inch. So make sure your steering components are in good shape. It's something they can and will look at. Number 8 is going to be suspension on the vehicle cheat sheet for roadside inspections. Inspect your suspension regularly. It's very important. There's several components you need to look at, eyeball every day. Your equalizer box, make sure the center bolt that it pivots on hasn't been cut through, worn through, or broken, and you have the slack in your EQ box. Also check for, and I quote, indications of misaligned, shifted, cracked, or missing springs, loose shackles, missing bolts, unsecured spring hangers, cracked or loose or deformed U-bolts. Also check any unsecured axle positioning parts and for signs of axle misalignment. Check for cracks, welds, and also corrosion. Keep an eye on your suspension. And last but not least, number 9, check your tires, wheels, rims, and hubs. Just as we said. Check tires for proper inflation. Inspect sidewalls for exposed fabric or cord or bulges. Check for any contact that has been rubbing with your trailer. Could symbol of other damage like an equalizer box. Check the rims for cracks. Check them if they've been bent, loose or damaged lug nuts, cracks across the spokes in the web areas. Check the hubs for lubricants, leaks, missing caps, misalignment and positioning, damaged, worn, or missing parts. Keep a close eye on your stuff. It'll take good care of you. And that rounds up the 9 items that I've wanted to bring your attention to. Everyone knows about the spare fuses and the spare bulbs and the spare lights and the mounted fire extinguisher and the triangles and all the other stuff that they normally see on minimal level 1 inspections. If you run into a trooper who decides to do his job properly, be prepared. Be DOT proof. DOT proof yourself, your company, for the sake of your finances and for the sake of the public safety. And be safe out there, fellas. Remember, you are the most valuable cargo that is moving around on the highways today. Next time, we'll see you on Hot Shot Learning Curve.